If you're ever watching an anime and you come across a fight scene that just feels amazing, and it's not necessarily because of the epic animation, or because of the genius choreography, or because of how unexpected every turn of events is, yet somehow it feels awesome, there's always something behind the scenes that most people don't even consciously notice, yet it's there and it's amazing. That's what I'm going to be delving into today. The metaphoric growth that was the battle between Stain and the UA students that opposed him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Anime Breakdown, this time my first episode of Battle
Crimson Lightning.
Superficially, I loved this fight. We had Iida all tied up there with a thirst for vengeance in his heart, where Deku was barely able to save him, putting up quite the good fight on his own, and in the process figuring out exactly what Stain's quirk does, so that when he's immobilized, a blast of fire can burst forth from behind him, revealing Todoroki, the third major player in this game, who now that he has the knowledge that Deku found, is able to hold off Stain just long enough for Deku to wake up, so that the ultimate rivalry of the last arc can become the ultimate tag team of this arc. I'll link my video at the end that explains the obscure details that makes Todoroki the greatest rival in anime. But as for now, the latest episode ended with Iida getting ready for battle. As far as the visual and emotional narrative of this battle, I freaking loved it. Even when it comes to the basics, there's a lot in this fight that's not said straight out. Deku actually operating full cowl, Todoroki giving to Iida what Deku gave him in the tournament, Iida growing past his inner demons, and a successful look at Todoroki, who's already disregarded them. As far as these three characters, there are so many things that I'd love to say right now about how epic this moment is, and how this is an incredible battle on a visual level and on an emotional level. But my personal favorite type of anime fights are the ones that make you feel even more awesome than you think you should be feeling. And these fights have three stages: a brilliant visual fight, a brilliant emotional fight, and a brilliant metaphoric fight. All the greatest battles in anime does this in one way or another, that if you look a level deeper, it becomes something entirely different than what you're used to. Actually, what inspired me to make this video is I wanted to make a list of my top 10 anime final battles, because so many of them accomplish these 3 points right, but then I realized I'm not making an hour-and-a-half long top 10 final battle list, so I figured I'd do the battles separately. And while this does not make the list, being that it just happened in the currently airing anime season, I figured it's more than fitting to be the first one here. Things that just come to mind quickly as far as these three stages of battle would be Meruem versus Netero, the spirals versus the anti-spirals, and all the other legendary major battles in anime. But as far as this one, all the extra awesomeness that you're feeling from this fight that you can't even put into words, or at least I couldn't put into words until I really thought about it, it all revolves around Stain. So I do these other videos, these villain breakdowns, where I would break down villains, hence the name, in a similar method, showing what the true purpose was and what effect they have on the characters and universe. And I really wanted to do one of these on Stain, but honestly, doing it in the battle breakdown gets my point across so much better. Stain is a noble villain, a villain who fights by his own strange ideals of justice. A lot of what he says has truth to it. However, even if the actions he takes are rather intense, he's of the thought process that there are way too many phony heroes nowadays running around for only fame, and the genuine heroes are scarcely found if you're lucky, which is why he'd be willing to spare Deku immediately seeing the possibility of a real hero in him, when instead of saving himself, he was willing to save another. It's a very interesting mindset for a villain altogether, and one we don't see very often, and honestly, I'm very happy to see here. And I love how the writer of Boku no Hero Academia tries his hardest to put relatable emotions and a relatable-ish mindset into characters, whether it be the villains, whether it be the heroes. Every support character has this, and you see many writers and many creators trying to do this as well. Some do it right, some do it not as well, but for the most part, everyone wants their villains to have a reason to be bad. A villain that's bad for the sake of being evil is pretty much waving a red flag. I am not a very good villain. Very often, when a backstory or a mindset or a reasoning is thought of for these villains, if you look at it a little deeply, the whole purpose of that mindset was just so the villain could be there. The whole traumatic backstory for the villain is just basically an excuse for the villain to fight the hero in this situation. Stains adds to the story and brings this battle to an entirely new magnitude. Stain's more than a villain that's just ready to get Saitama'd by some hero so we can move on to the next arc. Stain Stain is the reaffirming, metaphoric gray line between justice and ego. And the way all the characters fall into place in this arc shows exactly where they are and how they've grown. Even as far as the metaphor Deku and Todoroki fighting Stain, where both parties fight for their own sense of justice, contrary to Endeavor, fighting the League of Villains in complete public, showing how both sides have their sense of ego. Being that that's pretty much why the League of Villains attacked at this point as it is. It's also important to note that this Stain guy is coincidentally the first major villain fought by the Protaga squad without the supervision of a pro, showing you exactly where they stand at this point in time. Iida's destroyed, so we clearly understand his position. And what we will see in the next episode and the ones to come, I do not know, and I therefore will not say. No manga spoilers in the comments, please. But as far as full cowling Deku running into help, it more than reaffirms in our minds that he is more than the next generation of All Might's quirk. He's the next generation of All Might's justice. There's a term, power of friendship, that's thrown around in the anime community, that's thrown around in anime, that frankly pisses the crap out of me, at least for the most part. Power of friendship, in my mind, is when you have a protagonist that's just so damn good, he'll always immediately forgive everyone for everything. And you're my classmate, so I don't care if you killed an entire village, or something along those lines. It's kindness to the extent of nausea, and more often than not, people will end up talking about them behind their back.
Whoa, there's just something about him that changes people.
I don't like the something about him business. Deku pulls off power of friendship. It doesn't give him OP abilities, but you look at Todoroki's entrance here, and you see power of friendship in anime done well. The first time that I can really remember done this well. Once again, I suggest you check out my Todoroki video after you're done here if you haven't seen it already. But Todoroki's development over the span of this season was unbelievable, and frankly almost never seen before. And that leads me into Todoroki's entrance to this battle. Of course, after Deku being the symbol of justice, and those following him, and how justice creates more justice. How when Midoriya is in his time of despair and anguish, the most epic support player in My Hero Academia blasts a stream of fire from behind as defense. Now, I don't know if fire would have been more effective in this situation than his ice quirk, for example, but metaphorically, it makes all the difference in the world. His ice quirk was his safe zone. He's practiced way more with it, and I assume he knows how to use it way better. It was his cold, hard feelings that he was clinging on to distance himself from his father, which he proactively went to in order to further himself as a human being. This stream of fire he's blasting shows that since we've seen him last, he's developed further. He's developed into a person that can live with his past and grow past it. And him showing up here in his battle versus Stain puts him on the other side of that gray line as well. The side with very few heroes. How he follows the chain reaction started by our protagonist. Honestly, I'd want nothing more than to spend the next 10 minutes talking about how this flamethrower attack coming from behind Deku is my favorite scene I've seen in anime in a really long time, and how there is so much meaning and feeling behind it, but I don't think either of us has the time to actually do so. So I'll leave us off here for now, being that this battle is not over, and to non-manga readers like me, the outcome is unclear. What is clear to me though is the purpose that Stain serves as the first main villain to test the maturity of our protagonists, and as a barometer of true justice. Now with this in mind, if I may be so quaint, I suggest you to watch the fight again. Not necessarily the whole episode, but, you know, the really cool parts. Because if you rewatch it with, instead of the idea of a battle between good and evil, or superheroes versus supervillains, you watch it with the mindset that I am looking at a metaphor. A metaphor where every character shows his exact place and purpose in the world, and how they all got to where they are via their own personal issues, and how they triumphed over every single one of them, and end up on the much smaller side of the scale of Stain, where Iida will most surely join them by the end of this arc, and where Deku will be dragging as many people as he possibly can, because this is his purpose in the world. This is the true meaning of a symbol of peace. This battle is the first success in the tale of Izuku Midoriya, hero named Deku, the future #1 hero. This fight gives us everything, from his out-of-the-box thinking finding Stain, to his growth in strength, to Todoroki being his success of last arc, and to Iida being the success of this one, where they all fall into the right category according to Stain's barometer, and how this barometer will remain with us throughout the entire series in all of our mind, even though Stain probably will not. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a most wonderful evening. Hope you enjoyed my first episode of Battle Breakdown. Like everything, practice makes less cringy, and I hope that the next one will be even better. If you want to see something slightly less analytical and a little more hilarious / slightly triggering, feel free to check out my 50 sarcastic facts, which basically double as 50 sarcastic roasts of Boku no Hero Academia's tournament arc, as well as liking and subscribing. Let me know which battles affected you more than just the choreography and animation. If there's ever anything you want to talk to me about, or just want to join a fun community in general, link to the Discord in the description that is run by Anime Uproar, a good friend of mine, and he has invited me to invite all of you there. So, I'll see you next time.